gentlemen, we have reached the end of the 2024-2025 basketball season, and Ohio State is staring the opportunity to get to the NCAA tournament square in the face. It's not going to be easy. They're going to have to probably win one of these next two games in order to punch their ticket to get to the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk all about it right here today on the OHIO podcast. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a basketball pod. I was away in Florida and enjoyed the warmer weather down there in the Sunshine State, and since then the Buckeyes have they've won two of the three games. They went out to California and they lost by 8 to UCLA. They then beat USC in what I thought was a must-win game at that point, 87 to 82. They come back home to beat Nebraska, who they lost to in Lincoln earlier this season, in double overtime, 116 to 114. Let's talk a little bit about that basketball game, shall we? The Buckeyes jumped out to a 45 to 39-point lead in the first half, and it looked like they were just basically trying to hold on for dear life in the second half. Were unable to do so. The Cornhuskers outscored the Buckeyes 50 to 44 to send it to OT. The first overtime was a 10-10 tie, and then thankfully the Buckeyes were able to pull it out in the second overtime, outscoring the Cornhuskers 17 to 15 to get the victory. The Buckeyes shot 52.9% from the field, 37.5 from three-point range. Here's the kicker. They were 32 of 44 from the free throw line for 72.7%. And that's what I've been hounding this team on all year long, was taking advantage of getting to the free throw line and making your free throws when you get there. They were able to do so better than Nebraska. Nebraska was only 20 of 28. That's good enough for 71.4%. You outscored the Cornhuskers by 12 points on the free throw line. That makes a giant difference. They were out rebounded, not by much, but they were out rebounded 38 to 34 in this game. Nebraska had 17 assists to Ohio State's 18. Both teams had a pair of blocks. Turnovers, Nebraska had 11, Ohio State only 9, so they were able to take care of the basketball a little better than the Cornhuskers did. And in the end, the Buckeyes were victorious. Leading the charge offensively was Bruce Thornton. He had 29 points on the game. There were three other Buckeyes who joined him in the 20 mark. Micah Parrish and both Devin Royal each had 22 points. And the freshman, John Mobley Jr., finished with 20 as well. Sean Stewart finished with 13. Aaron Bradshaw, who got off to a great start early in the game, finishes with 8. And Evan Mahaffey adds 2 to the game. Quez Glover, he had 6 minutes. Colin White, 6 minutes. Austin Parks, 2. And Ivan, 1. And none of those guys scored in the game on the stat sheet. So with the win, Ohio State now sits squarely at a tie with Indiana for ninth in the conference. Um, Yep, just double checking. Yep, they're ninth. Both teams are 9-10 on the season. Indiana holds the overall advantage at 18-12, while Ohio State is 17-3. Nebraska now falls to 7-12 on the season, and they are tied with the Buckeyes at 17-13 overall. That 7-12 mark in the conference is going to hurt Nebraska. It puts them squarely on the bubble now, where I think Ohio State is currently sitting one step ahead of them. And again, one game away from punching their ticket more than likely and getting to the NCAA tournament. Other teams in the Big Ten that are in big trouble, along with Nebraska, I think Northwestern is on the outside looking in. They're 7-12 as well, 16-14 overall. USC, I don't think they're even a bubble team. 7-12, 15-15. Same thing with Minnesota, 7-12 in the Big Ten, 15-15 overall. Rutgers, Iowa, Penn State, and Washington, no shot at getting in. I don't even think Minnesota and USC really have a shot either. I think Northwestern is a long shot, but they're on the outside looking in. I think Nebraska's squarely on the bubble at this moment. And both Ohio State and Indiana are looking at this weekend's game with one another, and they're thinking to themselves, if we win, we're in. That's a great opportunity if you're Ohio State. Remember, coming into this season, I said the following: Jake Diebler's expectations for this team in year one would be to win the fan base back and get to the NCAA tournament. He has kind of won the fan base back. It hasn't been a full fledged, we're all in from this fan base. But given all of the hardships that he has had to deal with as the head basketball coach in his first year, and I won't go through that list. I've done it a numerous amount of times on on this podcast before. But given that, and given the fact that this basketball team has put themselves in a corner several times, and they've come out swinging every single time, I think you've got to give a big thumbs up to the first year for Jake Diebler. This was always going to be a monumental battle for him in year number one. And given that not only was he had did he have one hand tied behind his back as a coach, just given the roster and the things that happened to this roster during the season, but the fact that this was his first time as a head coach in college basketball, first time as a head coach at any level, believe it or not. Um, and I think he's done an admirable job, and I think he needs to be commended for that. That this first season was going to be difficult. It was going to be a learning experience, and some are going to argue with me that the head basketball coach at Ohio State should not be where you learn how to coach. But let me remind you, Ryan Day did the same thing 6 years ago, and he just won a national championship. Now, there are definitely some more advantages for Ryan Day than Jake Diebler. Number one, Ohio State is a football school. Number two, he was handed the keys to a sports car when Urban Meyer left with that roster. Number three, he has a huge collective at NIL backing him. Number four, the state from Cleveland to Cincinnati is Buckeye crazy, college football crazy, and he has so much more support from the state of Ohio than Jake Diebler could even dream about having as the head basketball coach here in this state. All of those things are more of an advantage for Ryan Day than Jake Diebler. But I want to just kind of parallel the two. That Jake Diebler is a first time head coach, young coach, given this program, similar to Ryan Day. If Ryan Day was given 6 years to get to the promised land, we can afford to be a little bit patient with Jake Diebler, can we not? I mean, the kid, I call him a kid. I think he's very close to my age. I think he's just a couple years younger than me. But the young man, uh, learning on the job, and in the Big Ten, one of, if not the toughest conference, I would say at least the second or third. Some might argue with me that the ACC. I disagree on the ACC. I think the SEC and the Big 12 might be more difficult, but the Big Ten, if it's not in the top three, it's definitely in the top four, right? In college basketball, is one of the toughest conferences, top to bottom, and he's learning on the job in his first year, and he did better than Chris Holtman's done the last couple years. Can we all agree on that? Can we agree that at least he did better than Chris Holtman did the last two seasons? And not only did he do better than Chris Holtman has the last two seasons, but he has us on the doorstep of getting to the NCAA tournament, which was the goal for this basketball team when they started the season, to get back to the dance. And here they are. They're on the doorstep. Again, it's not a done deal. It is not an absolute given that they're going to make the NCAA tournament, but the win over Nebraska the other day was a huge step toward doing exactly that. And now you have a chance to go into Bloomington, Indiana, and shut the door on this thing and say, yep, we're heading to the NCAA tournament no matter what. We've punched our ticket. We are in. That is what is facing this basketball team this weekend against the Indiana Hoosiers, who beat you earlier in the season, by the way. So that's also something to consider, right? Let's go back and talk a little bit about that basketball game on January 17th against Indiana. Ohio State came out and was leading this game 35 to 29 at halftime. They allow Indiana to tie this thing up in regulation. It went to overtime where the Hoosiers won 6-5, outscored a 6-5 in overtime, and won the game 77 to 76. It felt like this game got away from the Buckeyes, and it was the Indiana post presence that absolutely nailed the coffin for the Buckeyes. Luke Goody scored 23 points at forward, and Ornar Ballo scored 21. That's 44 points out of your 77 if you're Indiana, that Ohio State was unable to stop them in the post. And so you have to right that wrong. On the flip side, Bradshaw had 2 points and Stewart four. So they outscored you 44-6 with your big guys. Okay. That can't happen again. Absolutely not. No way, no how is that going to be the type of formula to win a basketball game, especially in their house now. And they've got quite a bit of momentum, even though they're coming off a loss on the West Coast against the Ducks of Oregon. They had won, I believe, three in a row before that, including a home win against their rival Purdue, in-state rival Purdue. And so Indiana is feeling really good about their chances to get to the NCAA tournament as well. And now you have these two teams who are on the tip top of the bubble, staring each other in the face, both looking to somehow get to the NCAA tournament. Let's talk about where this team is statistically here before we take a quick commercial break and welcome our guest in. Let me share my screen with you. As you can see here, this is the statistics over on ESPN for the Buckeyes. Leading the team with 17.8 points per game, as well as 36.1 minutes. Well, that's the guard Bruce Thornton, obviously. Second on the team in scoring at 13.6 points per game is the sophomore Devin Royal. At 13.4 points per game, that's the freshman guard, John Mobley Jr., and Micah Parrish rounding out the double digit figure scorers at 13 points per game. And then you see the number fifth leading scorer on this team in average, anyways, at 9.1 points per game. That's Michi Johnson Jr., who hasn't been with the team since game number 10. So obviously that hurts the Buckeyes a ton. Bradshaw's averaging 6.5 points per game, and Stewart's averaging 5.9. That's just not going to get it done, guys. And it's too late in the season now to try to ask one of these guys to somehow turn it around, but it is what it is, right? Leading the team in rebounds at 7 boards per game is Devin Royal. Stewart's got 5.8. Parrish is third at 4.6. Leading the team in steals are three guys. You've got Bruce Thornton, Micah Parrish, and Michi Johnson Jr. There he is again with 1.1 steals per game. At turnovers, well, that's again Michi Johnson Jr. 2.3 per game. Again, only played 10 games this season. Micah Parrish is at 2.1 points per game, leading the team in 3-point percentage. Sean Stewart is 50% this year. He hasn't shot very many. Same thing with Mahaffey. But Bruce Thornton is shooting 43.2%, and John Mobley Jr. is shooting 40.2% from the 3-point line. At the free throw line, you've got John Mobley Jr. at 88%, Bruce Thornton at 84.1%, Micah Parrish at 79.1%, Devin Royal at 78.2% to lead the team. And then from the field, Evan Mahaffey, 67.1%. He doesn't shoot the ball very much, and so he's taking high percentage shots when he is shooting the basketball, but at 67.1% this season. Stewart at 54.8. Stewart's just going to have to put the ball up more. become more of a part of this offense. At 52.5% is Devin Royal, and then Aaron Bradshaw at 52.1. Of course, they're taking a lot of high percentage shots close to the basket, alley-oops, layups, stickbacks, etc. So those are your team leaders statistically for the Buckeyes this season. And it's been a struggle. Ain't no lie. It's not been the what we were all hoping for at the beginning of the year, what we were wishing for when we thought we would be heading into this tournament, battling for like a fifth or sixth seed. This is a team that's battling for a 9 through 11 seed, maybe even lower than that, or higher, however you want to look at it. But we will see exactly what they are here in the coming weeks. You've got this weekend, and then this week is the Big Ten tournament coming up. So that'll be happening this upcoming week. Obviously, if Buckeyes don't win in Bloomington, I think they're going to have to win their first game in the tournament to make sure they punch their ticket. If they go 0-2, if they lose in Bloomington and then they lose their first game in the Big Ten tournament, they're strictly on the bubble, and that bubble might burst, and they might not make it, and they might be another NIT tournament again this year, tournament team. And that's not what this fan base, and it's not what Jake Diebler, and it's not what these players want for themselves. That is not a part of their goal, is to go back to the NIT again. They wanted more than that going into the season. And I think this team deserves more than that, to just be quite honest with you. They deserve more than an NIT invite again. They're better than that. I know that they've got some serious problems, issues down low. It's well documented on this podcast all season long that their post presence was just not there. But I digress. This team, Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, John Mobley Jr., Micah Parrish, those four guys have played their butts off this season. And along with the coaching job that Jake and his staff have done, I think this team deserves to get to the NCAA tournament, play a game, and see what happens. Maybe you could pull off the upset in round one and get to the round of 32. If you do that, my goodness, it is job well done in year one for Jake Diebler, because the recruiting class coming in is pretty good. And if you can get the nucleus of this team to come back again next season, there's no reason to believe Ohio State can't make next year the year they challenge for the Big Ten championship and beyond. So future's looking bright for Jake Diebler and the Buckeyes, but we're not looking towards the future. We're looking towards the here and the now for this basketball team, and that means you go into Bloomington, Indiana, you win that game, you punch your ticket to the NCAA tournament. All right, we're going to take our quick commercial break, and when we get back, I'm going to have a special guest for you all. You're not going to want to miss this as we preview the Indiana Hoosiers and the Ohio State Buckeyes big game this weekend from Bloomington.
Hey Buckeye Nation, the OHIO podcast is thrilled to partner with Export Mouthguards, the innovators redefining protection in contact sports. Introducing the Ninja Pro Mouthguard, the strongest and most advanced mouthguard on the market. Engineered by dental experts, it's designed to deliver elite protection with a sleek, low-profile fit. Made with carbon fiber and multi-layer construction, it's impact tested to keep you safe from even the hardest hits. But that's not all. The Ninja Pro is 3D printed for 100% custom fit, offering unbeatable comfort and security for any athlete. From football to MMA, dominate your game with confidence while safeguarding your teeth and jaw. Getting started is easy. Use our home impression kit to create your custom fit and enjoy prepaid shipping. It's protection delivered right to your door. Plus, with a 1-year warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee, and proudly made in the USA, the Ninja Pro is your ultimate defense on the field or in the ring. And here's the best part. When you visit exportguards.com, use promo code OHIO at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. That's right, 20% off elite protection made just for you. Protect your game, Protect your future. Choose Export Ninja Pro mouthguards, where innovation meets protection. Head to exportguards.com and use promo code OHIO today.
And welcome back, everybody, to the OHIO podcast. As you can see, I'm joined by my special guest, Burke, from Often Daunted, our sister podcast over at the College Huddle. He covers the Indiana Hoosiers on the basketball side of things over there at the College Huddle for us. He's been on with JR over at the Big Ten Huddle a bunch of times, talking Indiana Hoosier hoops. And now here he is talking the same with me today. Burke, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Awesome to be on. Long time coming. I usually am just dripping head to toe in my Hoosier gear, but on the OHIO podcast, I had to rep the one team I can support that I might have a few people out there. So
they're gonna like that a lot, man.
Yeah, that's my squad. That's my squad. But.
And I gotta say, my buddies over at the Boiler Express podcast right now are probably fuming, but they're fuming for a couple reasons, because I watched them get beat down there in Bloomington pretty handedly a couple weeks ago before I went to Florida. But I digress. Burke, this is a huge game for both teams. I think that right now, both Ohio State and Indiana are looking at getting to the NCAA tournament, but I think this game, whoever wins this game, punches their ticket. What do you think?
I think either way, both of these teams could very well be in the tournament, no problem. But whoever wins this game is comfortable afterward. They get to put their feet up. They are in the tournament, no questions asked, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do. I think this is kind of like the closest thing you're going to get to a regular season play-in game is what you're going to get. And if we take anything away from the first time these two teams played each other in Columbus, Ohio, it was an incredibly close game. Of course, Buckeye fans feel like they let that one get away. And it was more of the same for Ohio State in that game. No inside presence. You guys dominated us in the post. Once again, we had no answer for your big guys. I'm going into this game thinking about how you handled Purdue like you did in the post, and knowing that we basically have Sean Stewart, a 4 trying to play a 5, and Bradshaw, who he might show up and play. He might sit the bench the whole game. We don't know.
That is such a letdown. Before the season started, I was really high on Bradshaw just because his resume entering Ohio State was a lot of the Kalel Ware resume entering Indiana, and I was like, man, those McDonald All-American guys, they can really hit that sophomore year, and just to see the way it went, man, it's been a tough season for that kid.
Ohio State needed him to hit to get over the loss of the Felix Akpara to Tennessee.
To complete the roster. It's just to fill it out.
Yeah, we have no inside presence at all. And it hurts. It hurts this team badly because the guard play is fantastic. It's been fantastic all year. You have a 6-man and a true freshman coming in as your second and third leading scorers, who at the beginning of the year were looked at as pieces to the puzzle, possibly, but not expected to perform at what they're now expecting to perform, and they're doing an admirable job. Of course, I'm talking about the freshman John Mobley Jr. And Devin. His name skipped my mind all of a sudden.
Royal.
But, Royal, thank you, Devin Royal. But here we are, and Indiana at one point, Burke, looked like they were going to fall off the cliff, and they just turned it around, dude. You beat Michigan State. You go on, I think you win 4 out of your next 5 games, including a win over rival Purdue, and you're sitting squarely tied with Ohio State is in 9th place in the Big Ten, which sounds awful, 9 out of 10. But the Big Ten's sitting at 18 teams now, so you're right there in the middle. Here we are. Give me the shakedown. Where's Indiana at coming down the home stretch here?
Indiana is the same place we've always been. Seems like these teams with Mike Woodson always take so long to get started. The non-conference was such a letdown. Our trip to the Atlantis, utter disappointment. Getting blown out by Louisville, getting blown out by Gonzaga, I believe it was. Two chances to have big time non-conference wins. You win one of those, we probably don't have to even sweat this one. But get blown out there, leads into the Big Ten, starts out a little slow. It's just, these the Mike Woodson tenure, if it isn't a generational talent a la Trace Jackson Davis, or, now NBA Rookie of the Year, Khalil Ware, like dictating the play, the way the game goes. It's just a team without an identity that finds it over the course of a season through the crucible that is a bunch of crazed, angry fans. Like that, it's just what the case has been, it seems. And this team is no different. Again, we're sweating it out in March, despite this was the season Mike Woodson had all the war chest given to him. This was the prove it. It's time to show it. And unfortunately, here we are again, sweating it in March, hoping to God we can get a win over the Buckeyes on the way out of the Big Ten regular season and find ourselves in the NCAA tournament. It's a lot of inconsistency, but I mean, that's obviously you look at the middle of the Big Ten, and everybody, if you aren't paying attention to like your own team, you get lost on those middle teams because you take a look at the bottom. You want to know who's doing the worst. You want to know who's doing the best. But the middle teams, it's just inconsistency. And Indiana, whatever day you tune in, it's going to be two different Indianas that show up. If they're playing defense, this team is every bit as elite as the talent indicated at the beginning of the season. But it is just an inability of whatever right now, the program as a whole, to not really get the full-fledged development we need out of any of these guys. And it is crazy because you see guys like Caleb Banks now head to Tulane, and he's been balling out. And it's just, there are these success stories of these guys who go elsewhere and find rhythm. And it's like, yeah, we brought these guys in because they were highly touted. They didn't just lose it. Something's going on here. Something stinks. And this season's been a culmination of that. Nevertheless, Luke Good, I'll tell you what, that last Ohio State game, Luke Good had his breakout game with those 23 points, I think it was, 4 for 7 from deep. He has been the program identity from the start of the season, which is crazy because he was on Illinois last season. Like, that says a lot about where we are. Like, yeah, he wanted to be a Hoosier the whole time. He grew up an Indiana fan, but it says a lot about where we were as like just the identity of the program, that an Illinois Brad Underwood product could come in on his first year and be like the guy everyone looks to set the tone. And that is why Indiana, despite having such a high, I mean, the budget is insane for this roster. We find ourselves right here.
You brought up a couple things I want to touch on that I think can relate to Ohio State fans on several fronts. So a couple weeks ago, after defeating Purdue, Matt Painter throws some shade your way along with the Hoosier faithful, and Ohio State fans get much of the same treatment for how we treat the football program. Your response to that, I would love to know what you think, and is it similar to how we think as the lunatic fringe, as we call ourselves, that we are painted by Kirk Herbstreit in the national media?
I do not want to go back to Bloomington, having said here that I speak for all Hoosiers, but I'm going
Go for it, man.
I'm going to speak for myself and say, you know what? We have too much invested in this. We get to say all this crazy stuff because of how much we're putting into it. There's a little more on the line because there's a whole lot more backing it. And it's tough to change my mentality on that. It's a tough job. It's a tough place to play. Painter was saying that, but he was also saying that on the fourth stop of a 4-game losing streak, and felt like a lot of projecting. Those Purdue fans, they got a hint of success, and maybe they get a little hungry now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. I think that's a fair statement. Okay, so you also brought up Woodson, and let's talk about where we're at. For those who might not know, Mike Woodson, this is his final year at Indiana, and then you guys are going to be, I guess, looking towards a new coach and a new era again for the Hoosiers. Where are we at currently here, and what can you tell me?
Where are we? It's just all rumors. It's all smoke. It's all mirrors. Where am I? It's Brad until it's somebody else, man. I'm one of those delusional dudes. It's Brad Stevens until somebody else has the job. If I'm looking more realistically and I'm going to play to the audience I'm currently here with, I would love so much to steal the Wolverines head coach. I would love to make that statement. In the football world, Michigan, there were those years where they had the power to do that. Indiana has a successful coach. Michigan could absolutely poach him. Basketball is the arena where the shoe's on the other foot a little. Indiana has the power to go out and poach a guy like that. They set his buyout at $6 million. That's almost like, come on, come take it, like to us. So yeah, I feel good about either of those options. Honestly, I'm with Fanta, though, my personal choice. If the pipe dream of Brad Stevens is off the table, which I believe it is, TJ Osselberger. I just think everything he's done with Iowa State, I think there are rumblings there. Everything he's done with the budget, the resources he has there, with the resources he has at Indiana, I really think he is going to do a lot of winning if he has the job.
So
Other than that,
you don't
like,
think you're out of the Dusty May, even though they extended him?
I don't. I think that buyout was almost, yeah. I mean, it was a flirtatiously low to the Indiana administration,
Interesting.
and that's just my opinion. But I also am like delusional about just what Indiana's got going on in the war chest.
Do you think Dusty May wants to be a Hoosier?
Yeah, man. He grew up a basketball manager, dude. It is something
So why did
different
he
about
take the extension?
it's I mean, millions and promise of millions of dollars. It's just irresponsible to your grandchildren's grandchildren not to do that. So you got to take it when it's
Touche.
presented.
Touche.
But
Touche.
I wanted to speak on Ben McCollum because I think Ben McCollum is a great hire. I think he is a great hire for a lot of programs, but no diss on Diebler, but I want Indiana to go out there and hire a name that's proven, that has weight to it. Like I think the Buckeyes could have last year. I think Diebler has all that he has. Like I think he has all the tools to build a winner in Ohio State. But it would be nice to have the for sure like check of accreditation right out the gate.
I think the Jake Diebler hire is and I stated this before the commercial, and you didn't get to hear it. But I think Jake Diebler, in a lot of ways, is a comparison to Ryan Day. Never coached before, brilliant young mind. The players love him. They're playing the long game with him. He's an Ohio guy. He knows how to recruit the state. He has the respect of high school coaches in the state, which hasn't happened at Ohio State since Randy Ayers. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I think the idea with Diebler was to play the long game and to slowly win back the fan base, to get it to fill up the shot, which is going to take a while because Chris Holtman, he took a giant dump on this program. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I don't not to say that Chris Holtman's a bad guy. I just think things at Columbus and in the Big Ten were bigger than what he could handle. And he lost control. And he had things that were out of his control. Like the COVID year. That basketball team was peaking, man. Mm-hmm. We were getting ready to go on a run and sorry about your luck. And he was never able to recover. But I digress. Anyways, I'm going to throw a name out to you, and I think this guy could be and I think he's a great coach. Josh Schertz, from the old Indiana State coach who went to St. Louis. I think he is somebody who would, given the right opportunity, could really make a winner, but he's not a big splashy name for you.
Yeah, see, that is Indiana fans. We did this song and dance with Archie Miller. We don't want to do it again.
Okay.
Like we that was just too fresh of a wound. Taking the chance on the Dayton upstart. I don't think they're gonna go that way. I just don't see it.
Interesting. Okay. Let's talk about this game Saturday now.
Yeah.
Get back to that, man.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to fill in the end of my sentence and have some fun with it.
Okay.
Ohio State could end up winning this game Saturday because
any of four guys have a heroic game. That tends to be the case. Like this just has the feeling of Indiana by every metric, but the size of Indiana alone. You would think that Indiana could spam Umar Ballo and Malik Renew. Like they've really found a healthy balance. We started the season playing both of those guys 35 minutes each. We really found a balance where they are relieving themselves, like relieving each other. We have 4 guard lineups far more often, and it's working out. It's working out well enough that I really think they're just going to go after Stewart. I think they're going to go after him, and I think he's going to be on the floor for like a total of 9 minutes before he fouls out. Just because he'll be off the floor in the first. He's going to pick up 2 fouls right out the gate. But I say that. But that is what a smart coach would do. You would think that that is what the play is. And the thing is, you almost, me personally, I think that when Mike Woodson, this is just the worst. I think when Mike Woodson hears something good, he doesn't want to use it because Mike Woodson likes to win or lose Mike Woodson's way. That's just how he is. So I almost don't like talking the best ideas out in the air because I'm like, I want him to have that idea on his own and then he'll use it. But if any of those 4 guys, Bruce Thornton, Mobley Jr., Devin Royal, Micah Parrish, if they just go unconscious, absolutely, the Buckeyes can take this one.
If Indiana wins, they win by how much?
6. It's going to be respectable.
Oh, it would be more than that. It would be more than that.
Yeah, I'm trying. I know where I am. I know what show I'm on.
No, listen. No, I'll be straight up with you. The closer this game is, the better Ohio State's chances are.
Yeah.
If Indiana gets out to a 10-point lead or more, it's over. It's done. You'll watch the demeanor of the Buckeyes when they fall behind by 8 points or more. You can see the demeanor and it's done.
Okay, Indiana has something like that. All you Buckeyes can look out for. Mackenzie Mbako. He will be a huge factor in this game if he hits his first 2 shots of the game. You can tell in the first 5 minutes of a game whether this guy is going to be crucial in Indiana's win or if he's going to be a defensive liability. Because honestly, when he isn't producing on the offensive end, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze defensively. And he's going to be one to look out for. But I just really hope, you would think if both these teams just show up and play their most baseline game, Indiana, just the metrics alone, the size, the fits that, we saw the fits that Michigan gave Ohio State in their last matchup down low. I think that a lot of that should translate over. But again, Mike Woodson, it's a shame to say our head coach is the biggest liability in a lot of these Indiana games because if it's close towards the end of the game, Indiana could be in trouble. Mike Woodson has imploded at times. That Oregon game was a 1-point game with like a minute and a half left. It ends up a 11-point defeat. It's just crazy, the results. He makes them look so much worse than they are at times.
Yeah.
And
Jake's ran into that where he can't pull game. They don't know how to close games out at the end, and a part of the reason is because they're terrible. They're terrible from the free throw line. Now they did a great job against Nebraska. That's how they won that game. But for the most part this season, Ohio State has several games. You look back and you go, you make your free throws at the end of the game, you win the game. Pittsburgh was one in the non-con. I can say the same about Indiana when they were at the shoot or at the shot. Oregon, when we lost to Oregon, was another game that we shouldn't have lost. That game we had it won. But there's 3 games off the top of my head. Bing, bang, boom. We make a couple free throws, we win the game.
Yeah,
and so I've been preaching about that.
But that was Indiana too last game. I think they went 3 for 7 from the line. Yeah, the 3 free throw discrepancy at Oregon was 7 to 21. but I make a promise on my show not to talk about officiating.
Well, you're
Just
not on your show, so you can
yeah,
jump on
yeah.
it.
Well,
You can talk
it's
about how
crazy.
bad
It's
the Big
crazy.
Ten
I mean,
officials are.
I
I
talk.
think it's a detriment to the Big Ten when they go to the NCAA
It is.
tournament.
It is. It is. It truly is. But I mean, we're all playing the cards we're dealt. Luckily, it seems like these guys have been favoring the home squad. So, point Indiana in this game, unfortunately for all you Buckeye fans. Yeah, it's crazy what they're allowing these guys to get away with. But Indiana in that game, 3 for 7 from the free throw line. It was painful watching it because when it came down to it, if Indiana took the like 11-point loss because they were fouling with the game on the line, like down the line. If they would have had those, like, if they would have had 3 of those points, it's a whole different story. And it's like that, just leaving the points at the line is so gut wrenching. And I actually tuned into your guys' coverage on the Michigan game of Michigan, Ohio, just to kind of see what I'm in for here. And yeah, it sounded like a lot of the same. A lot of the relatable struggles. And honestly, when you look at the two teams as a whole, look at the standings. It's the inconsistency. It is two very relatable fan bases right now.
Yep. Let's turn our eyes towards the postseason since we're here and we're going to be crossing the finish line of the regular season this weekend. Who wins the Big Ten tournament?
Oh man, if I'm picking, I don't want to say I think Illinois could win it, man. I think that if Gus Ferris just has a weekend, like he could. Michigan State is obvious; they're an easy choice just because it's Izzo, it's March. That unfortunately for the Buckeyes, I do believe like Dusty May could turn it around. Like he has the experience to really switch it up. Maybe he's saving the best stuff for now. He knew he was in March. Like we don't even know. That dude has become accustomed to his appearances here, even at a lesser school. So who knows what he is hiding now that he's like at a big program. Yeah, so I really think Michigan could, unfortunately, for the Buckeye fans listening. But yeah, right now I don't have the faith in the Hoosiers. Like the talent is all there. You catch them on the wrong day, this team's beating anybody. They have the talent to do so, and I feel like the same could be said for the Ohio State shooting. If any two of those 4 guys I named get hot in a game, they win it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's all it takes to win a conference tournament.
All right, let's go to the NCAA tournament. Someone's hand you $100 to make a bet on who's going to win it all. Who you laying the money down on?
Duke. Dude, they're just so low. They're so low. It's crazy, and they're so loaded, and we haven't even seen them play. Like they're just out there doing highlight stuff, man. We don't even know what they're made of.
Don't you think that's part of the weaker ACC this year though?
Yeah, absolutely. But they're not. They haven't had a close game. It's crazy what they're doing. They are doing. It is the ACC. They're down this year, but I mean, it's still those guys still go to school and are getting paid to play major basketball, and yeah, it's crazy what that team's doing. You know, you would want to take probably the SEC, but maybe it's the SEC's turn to start beating themselves up. That was the Big Ten's case before. I swear to God, we were just beating the hell out of each other, and it was just too tough to compete once we hit March. Maybe we're going to start seeing some of that for the SEC here.
Who's your dark horse?
Maryland. Honestly, now I finally made the switch in my head. They've always let me down in the prior 4 seasons that I've bought into Maryland hype. I think that Maryland could make a run. They're the Crab 5. Like they can. Sometimes it's all like. Sometimes that's all it takes. And I do want to just bring up on the show a little my thoughts on Rutgers because I feel like I want to share those a lot of places. It is crazy, right? That like these 2 guys, I feel like there have been cases where the top talents have gone to lesser, like smaller level programs, but they still have performances. They still have games where it's like those guys won the game. that was an NBA player's performance, and that's why they won the game. It is crazy that Luke Peichel has allowed so many people out the door that Rutgers is now maybe out of the inaugural Big Ten conference tournament. Like, the supporting staff to that NBA talent is just so destitute that, it's just crazy to see. And I no reason to bring it up on an Ohio show, but I'm going to share my thoughts on it.
Well, I highly recommend you go over to the Night Watch and watch his last Rutgers basketball rant. It was epic. Yeah, it was epic.
They keep it honest. They keep it honest.
Yeah. I'm going to throw some names out to you that I am watching very closely, and I want you to just give me a quick rundown of your thoughts. St. John's.
Incredible defense. Rick Pitino is he's the man. It's crazy.
Is it wrong of me to still have Rick Pitino crushed, even though he's a scumbag?
No, man. No. Because look at what he's done. It's crazy.
Love that guy as a coach, dude.
I mean, I'm sure he's going to do something on top of this to make us all question it again, because that is what he's done the last 4 times we've all had these. It happens in waves. Patino comes in waves, and right now it's just the love phase. This team looks incredible, and it is awesome to watch him just sun Hurley.
Did you see the video of him in the locker room with his team when he's just giving them this speech?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm like, that is old school. Pull at your heartstrings. I'm going to run through a brick wall for this man. Like, he still got it, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I have a man crush for him.
See, and your reaction to that clip tells me he still got it. Because he gets all of us to think that way. Like, oh, look at this guy.
And I know he's a scumbag. I know he is.
Yeah, exactly.
You brought him up earlier. I think that they're a dark horse to win the whole thing. Iowa State.
Okay.
If they can get hot, I mean, they can shoot. And they've got size. Like, they got tall guys who are going to force you to guard them out on the perimeter. That I think is incredibly interesting. I like Iowa State as kind of a dark horse for me. I
need them not to personally, because I do kind of want Osselberger, and I feel like if he wins a national championship, it might be a little harder to convince him that he doesn't have the resources he needs to win a national championship.
All right, and then my dark horse, my team that I think will make a run that no one think will, is Texas A&M.
Okay.
I can't really tell you why, other than the fact that we played them in their home gym. They've got a coach that I think knows how to scheme his players around your weaknesses, and they play in a conference where they have seen the best of the best, and they're going to go in that NCAA tournament. I think the Aggies can come away with like a grade 8 run that no one sees coming.
I think Pharrell Payne is like the toughest dude in NCAA basketball. The way that dude plays is so aggressive, so hard, and to see him leave the conference for Texas A&M was upsetting for me, because I felt like that kid was just a Big Ten basketball player. And I think it's a good choice. They are so good at making the other team play their tempo. Like they just throw a wrench in the other team's game plan and can control the pace so well, and that is half the battle in March.
I can't wait. It's my favorite time of the year. Obviously, I love football, but I'm a basketball guy. I don't hide that from anybody. I played the game. I love the game. It was my favorite game to play when I was younger, even though I was much better at baseball. But I coached basketball. My dad was a basketball coach. I was a gym rat growing up. I love this time of year because it gets all those juices flowing in me again. I remember as a kiddo. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Whether the Buckeyes are dancing or not, I cannot wait for this, dude.
Burke, I feel like either way, if this game, as long as it isn't disrespectful one way or the other, I feel like both teams are in. I do.
Really?
That's just where I am. I feel like the rest of the bubble has fumbled it so aggressively.
They have, yeah.
That as long as we keep this respectful amongst brothers in the conference, I think we're both in.
It's a good thing
If it goes heavy one way or the other, might be a different story.
it's a good thing it's not the '90s because this rivalry was anything but respectful in the '90s. But
Hey, I mean,
oh
yeah.
man, but those were the good old days. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I believe if Ohio State loses this one, they're going to need to at least win their first game in the Big Ten tournament to punch their ticket then. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. You might be right. I'm looking forward to it. Burke, tell everybody where they can find you, man. Maybe some Indiana fan stumbled on this thing and needs to know where to follow you, brother.
Hey, yeah, you can find me across all socials at Often Daunted. I do have a YouTube show about once a week. Often Daunted. It's a podcast that I started about 4 seasons ago, just covering Indiana basketball, just one fan's perspective. I'm not going to give you the most hard hitting numbers, but I'm going to give you just a good show with a lot of heart behind it. So you can find me anywhere across all audio platforms there. I cannot appreciate you, Eric, having me on enough, man. This was awesome. Thanks for the first time here.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. We'll do this again, man. Appreciate you, my man. Enjoy the game.
All right, let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it respectful Saturday, okay?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
See ya.
The OHIO podcast is brought to you by Mastermind. Mastermind specializes in 360-degree high-definition mobile video mapping, GIS integration, and traffic safety studies. Mastermind cares about traffic safety and keeping you safe on the roadway. Visit Mastermind at onlinemastermind.com. And thank you to Burke from Often Daunted for joining me on the OHIO podcast to preview the big Ohio State versus Indiana game tomorrow. Make sure that you enjoy this game, guys. This is a big game for Jake and this basketball team. Like I said, they deserve our support, and they deserve for a big finish here and to get into the NCAA tournament. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. We're going to root like heck that they're able to pull out the W there in Bloomington. It would be considered an upset for them to beat the Hoosiers in Bloomington. But that's what we're going to root for. That's what we're going to go into this game hoping happens. But if you ask me my honest opinion, this is going to be an uphill battle for this team. Indiana's very good in the post. We are not. That's how we lost the first game, and they are playing much stronger down the stretch here than what they were playing when they came into Columbus and beat us in overtime. If we lose this game, which I kind of think we will, then we need to go into the Big Ten tournament next week with the idea that we have to go on a run. That will secure an NCAA tournament berth for the Buckeyes. Even if it's just one win in the NCAA tournament, I think that's good enough to get in. Or excuse me, one win in the Big Ten tournament. I think that's good enough to get in the NCAA tournament. But I would much rather go into the tournament kind of like, we're already good. We made it. We got our dub in Bloomington, and so it's time to set our sights on the NCAA tournament. That's what I'd rather feel like we should do. But regardless of what happens, either way, this team deserves some accolades at this point for what they've achieved with all the hardships that they've gone through, especially Jake and these guards, man. So that's where I'm at, everybody. And I hope you join me in my sentiment for this program and for Jake. I think Jake's a good coach. I think he's a good dude. I think that he is 1 year away from really proving a lot of doubters wrong, given the recruiting class, giving the development. Offseason will be interesting. You got to keep everybody together, and you're going to need to pull together. You're going to need to pull somebody from the portal to play post for you, man. That is no joke. That's what you're going to have to do. He knows that. The coaching staff knows that, but they're going to have to keep the nucleus of this basketball team together, and that will help out greatly if they can get to the NCAA tournament and kind of feel like they're moving the needle in the right direction as a program. Losing this game, losing in the Big Ten tournament, and maybe being on the bubble and not making the NCAA tournament, that's going to feel like you've accomplished nothing. And that's a tough place to be in at this point. So this is a big, big weekend for Jake, a big weekend for this program, a big weekend for the Buckeyes, and we're going to be rooting like heck that they have a good finish to their season. Guys, if you need to get a hold of the program for any reason at all, you can email the show at theohiopodcast@gmail.com. Please check out the website where we cover these Buckeyes as well as the women's team and the football team and all other kinds of sports, including men's and women's hockey, softball, baseball, you name it. We're talking about it over at our website at theohiopodcast.com. That's theohiopodcast.com. Please give this video a like. It does help us out in the old algorithm, as well as a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. And if you stumbled on our channel for any reason at all and you like the content that you've seen here, we have a whole lot more where that came from. Please subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified every time a video drops or we go live. Make sure you check out our live show tomorrow night. We have our live roundtable discussion Sunday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, with Pigskin Pete's coming in to be our special guest tomorrow on the OHIO podcast live roundtable Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you want to check that out so you do not miss it. Head on over to the website and click on the store link where you can find all kinds of great items that are sold on our online store, including these bad boys, our OHIO podcast mug, where we can remind you to smash that like button every time you take a sip from that beautiful mug. We have t-shirts, some hats, some memorabilia. Go check out that. And then there's a merch link as well where you can get official OHIO podcast t-shirts, hoodies, hats, etc. All right, guys, till next time, be kind to one another. I Somos OH in St. Carmen, Ohio. With all your heart, you all know what to do. Go Bucks.